This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by The Eye Collector, out in October from Heavy Metal Comics Virus Imprint.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm here with Dan Vadeboncoeur, our trusty producer, and chasing artwork, otherwise known as Justin Curry, my partner in crime, my Kickstarter guru, my social media
Maven.
sensei.
Oh. I guess Maven has to be a female person, right? Is that how that works?
I don't think so. You can be a maven. You can be a male maven.
Can you be a male Maven? I feel like
Dear listener.
I think I've only heard that word applied to
Dear Thesaurus.
Yeah. Anyway.
We've got some. This is maybe a good news, bad news episode.
Sure.
Is that what it is? Is that what's going to happen?
Oh, and just in case it happens, and I hope it does, I currently have my Kickstarter up live, and I have this kind of added application to it that makes a very loud noise every time I get a new backer. And so it's in the final couple hours of the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter ends at 8 o'clock tonight, and it's like 3:30 right now. So I'm hoping that we're interrupted a couple times by a loud noise over here.
And dear listener, if you're new to the show, and you're just hearing about the Dragon Nanny Kickstarter now, it'll be too late to back it by the time you hear this because we've only a few hours left.
But
in
you
real
can
time.
pre-order on chasingartwork.com because as soon as the Kickstarter ends, then I put it up on my online store. So people can still get it there, but they'll get it after everybody on Kickstarter gets theirs. So
All our special people.
Yes.
The elites that backed it early and get all kinds of bonuses. So that's our real good news, is that we're a few hours to the end of the Dragon Nanny Kickstarter, and we asked for $22,800, and we currently have backers totaling
$33,392.
So for those of you who are unsure how that money is going to get spent, it unfortunately doesn't just go into our Swiss accounts. That money goes to printing the book and shipping and fulfilling all the pre-orders, which we have close to, I guess, just over 400 pre-orders. For the
468
books, right?
people have ordered the book or the book and other things.
Right.
Are you guys going to print extra just to?
Yes, because we're not only printing for the Kickstarter, we're printing for, we can't do a book launch at McNally Robinson, like our local bookstore, but we can still give them inventory. We can still get inventory at Chapters. And we do have hopes that eventually the world will go back to normal.
It will.
Yeah. So we want inventory for that as well. So rather than, print on demand, we're printing a big clump right now that's hopefully going to last us a little while.
Cool. Yeah, and just, for people who maybe don't know how that works, when you print books, there is a price break every sort of 500 copies of a book that you get. And once you get into the thousands, your cost per unit price comes down to the point where it's worthwhile if you have enough pre-sales to overprint the book to a large percentage so that that leftover stock potentially becomes the profit on the book after the fact.
Right? So now that this has worked, now that the Kickstarter was a success and we don't have conventions for a while, I'm going to do another Kickstarter. So as soon as February hits and everybody has Dragon Nanny, I'm probably going to launch my next Kickstarter, and one of the tiers will include Dragon Nanny. So I need enough books for that as well. And one thing that happened with this one was we had Cassie and Tonk available as one of the tiers, but we don't have any of those books left except for the ones I was hiding away just for new books to come out and include them with. So those are almost all gone too.
Yeah, and for people to understand why we're doing this now versus other times, normally we would go to all of these different shows. We do 25 shows a year. At those shows, we would directly distribute a new book. So we would front that $18,000, $20,000 ourselves to print that book, then take it on the road, and over the course of 24 months, recoup that cost of production and printing. Production being the time it took to actually illustrate it, and then also the print cost the hard way. one customer at a time. We'd like that the best because selling one book to a customer across the table is like selling 5 through a distributor to a bookstore as far as what you can recoup for a living wage goes. So this is a little flip of that where we pre-sold 462 copies of the book that made it possible. So it's sort of like we skipped that first. We basically shaved a year off of our production schedule, our profitability schedule. Normally it would take us a year to recoup all of that money. Instead, we went online and recouped it all in 30
Dragon
days.
Nanny is now my best-selling book by far, and it's not out yet, which is kind of awesome.
You guys also reached a stretch goal either today or yesterday. I saw the tweet about it.
Today.
Was it today? So now you're going to be donating a number of books to libraries as well.
Yeah, so we hit this. The first stretch goal was 100 books are going to the Health Science Center Children's Hospital. The next stretch goal was better paper, which it's not a super exciting one, but it is for me.
People will know, there will make a significant difference in the book.
Actually,
I know this,
people who get all the books, Rust and Water and Cassie and Tonk were printed with the standard paper. Dragon Nanny is going to be on the upgraded paper. It's going to be very obvious that Dragon Nanny has better paper. And then the next one that was unlocked was rural schools. I grew up in like a super small town, and part of my book touring would always include like going back home and hitting all these rural schools and talking about illustration as a career and doing that like a creative field as a job. But since I can't do that, we're going to donate 100 books to, I think, probably, 10 to 15 schools. We're going to make up it won't just be Dragon Nanny. It'll be a couple different books, and we'll make packs, mystery packs, and send them off to libraries.
Yeah, we have a pretty robust back catalog of fun books that we'll just make sure get into schools.
And then the one that was unlocked just a couple hours ago was there's going to be now everybody who got the book is also going to get an additional print. So you get a free print with your book. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to make up, I think, a new piece between now and when the books go out. So I'm not 100% sure what that print is going to be yet, but I'm excited. I have a whole bunch of prints on the list to draw. So
yeah. Nothing gets us fired up like being able to do a composition for a good cause in a way, So it's really exciting. That's it's just and I think a point of clarity, it's not your best selling book yet because we've sold multiple copies, many more times more copies of other volumes. It's the most profitable out the gate. In 30 days, it got into the black, right?
Right.
And it can take a while to make money on a book.
I think, Cassie and Tonk took like about
20 months, 24 months before we were kind of like, hey, this worked.
Yeah. It'd be awesome and also horrible. Not horrible, super stressful. The next stretch goal is 8 more pages of the book. Like 8 more pages would be added.
How much do we need to get there? Let's start tweeting.
Yeah, so it needs to hit 35 to unlock. So it's possible.
Do you think people would hate share it if I was like, make Justin work harder?
Because the book is due at the printers in 8 days. October 9th, the book is due. And so I could do it, but I'd have to give up sleep and health and...
I've seen you do it.
Yeah.
I've seen you do it.
Well, we'll know in a few hours. By the time this episode is up, people will know whether or not we reach that goal. So
that's true.
We'll know to stay away from you.
Something occurred to me, though, about Kickstarter or really crowd-funded book projects. One of the important things that people have to take away is that it creates this margin where you can, as the creator, earn a fairer wage on the project. And you've sold a much lower number of books. From an environmental point of view, there's an argument to be made moving forward that million bestsellers are bad for the planet and profitable low sellers are better for the creators and the planet. And we may move in the next decade into when books first started, when printing technology first started, the idea of mass print runs, that wasn't on anyone's mind. You would make a few hundred of a book, the booksellers would sell it. It would be profitable. Maybe you went to a second printing of another 200 volumes, and that was considered a wild success, and everyone got paid and made money. The more stores, the more shipping, the more book distributors, the more book reps, the more people that are involved in the middle step, actually the less environmentally sound bookmaking is. Because what's driving it is a need for profit. And so you have to increase the unit sales. I wonder, I'm just pontificating, thinking literally right now on air, if there's an argument to be made for, in the future, you'll be promoting the fact that your book has a really low carbon imprint. Help me keep the book, right, small. We may not be big.
There's lots of people who care about that kind of stuff. My kids certainly do. My children really want to make sure the environment is in good shape when they grow up. They're very concerned about it at times. So.
Yeah, help me sell 500 now so I don't have to sell 10,000 later to make the same money.
Help! They're coming! They're coming! Listen to me! Listen! Help me! You're next, please! Please! You're next! We're in danger! Please, listen to me! Something terrible!
So bad news.
Bad news
As long as I'm
time.
being greedy with ideas, I might as well talk about other greedy people. Longtime listeners will know of my sordid history with the nefarious publisher, the now nefarious publisher, ChiZine Publications, who last year, I'll be careful here only to talk about my point of view and what happened to me directly.
You did a very good job of it in the previous episode.
That's right.
Because there's quite a few terrible stories out there, but they're not our stories to
I'll link
tell.
to that episode in the show notes so people, if you missed it, you can listen back to it.
There are many terrible stories, alleged terrible stories related to ChiZine Publications.
And actually, all you have to do is Google ChiZine Publications, and their website is like the 7th thing that comes up. Everything before that are telltales of the horrible experiences people have had with them.
So you can use your imagination or use your Google machine to find out what those things are. In my personal experience, this was a publisher that didn't pay its advances, didn't pay its royalties, lied on its statements about what books were sold where. I have records of events I was at personally, particularly because of my social media, of the number of books I signed and sold while present that don't match the statements that were sent to me later. So it's not hearsay, it's just math. And it's all there on social media. You can watch it one at a time happen if you go back far enough. So they were forced as a sort of comeuppance. There was a grand uprising among their backlist of authors, and
what started all that? Like, because this had been happening to a lot of people, but nobody was talking about it, and it took somebody to finally kind of raise a fuss, and then everybody kind of came out of the woodwork.
So, no, I don't know what the initial, what the straw that broke the camel's back was actually, but I should mention that one thing that happens in Bookland is people don't want to... they don't want to crap where they eat. So if you're having a bad time with a publisher, you might be ashamed and feel like you got taken advantage of and you should have been smarter and you should have been more with it and it's somehow your fault.
You're embarrassed.
And you're embarrassed. And so you don't speak up. And then you see other people sharing stuff about that publisher and they seem happy with it. And so you are doubly embarrassed because those are your peer group who hasn't been taken advantage of. And so it must be your fault somehow. And I think we had a lot of that magnification going on where bad behavior was just supported because everyone who has ever made a novel dreams that people will read it and care for it. And a publisher is your link in that chain. And so you don't want to cut the link in that chain if you feel, that this is your only way. But I think what happened was their shady business practices butted up against alleged horrible human practices, sexual misconduct, right? Abuse, mistreatment, personal attacks, the kind of stuff that people draw the line at. Like, if I lose some money, fine, right? That's my fault. But there are certain things that you will not let happen to you or your friends. And if you hear about them happening to your friends, you're damn well going to speak up. And I think that was the tip of the spear that left them bleeding.
Yeah.
But they seem to be back.
So yeah, all these stories came to light, and did they disappear for a while? Like, did they take their website down?
Website went down. They were forced to return the rights to all their authors. I got a letter. I demanded my rights back, but I got a letter basically stating that, the rights to the 4 books that you've published with us are yours again. Those rights have been reverted to you. In some group threads of ChiZine authors, like I know at least 10 or 15 people where that was happening sort of en masse, where they were just jumping ship. They used it as a way of saying, we're not going to pay you what we owe you, but here's your books back.
Right.
Right? And we're closing. The other thing they did was they mischaracterized it by saying, we're closing, so here's your stuff back because there is no money here.
We're not gonna be selling any more of this anyway.
Right.
So we're happily retiring.
Yes.
Right. So we're not closing in shame.
That's right. So here's a free piece of advice to anybody out there in Bookland who is listening to this and wondering about what to do with ChiZine, who's been slighted. If they're still operating, then they're ripe for a class action lawsuit. Right?
Okay.
If they close, they're safe from that. But if they stay operating as the same company with the same assets, then they still owe you that money. They breached their contracts, and we can go as a group and say, pay us.
Because usually in this case, when companies do this, they screw over a bunch of people, they just rebrand.
Yeah.
They close that company and they start up a new one, slightly different name, and continue on.
Blue Water, Tidal Wave.
Yeah.
Right? Terrific Productions is about to do that, I'm sure. They're the guys that have the Youngblood license, and they hired a bunch of creators and then didn't pay them, and then, tried to force those creators to stay quiet behind their NDAs. But,
Goodness.
people, yeah.
Okay, so you say they're back. So what happened to make you aware of this? What is back as far as
There was an
ChiZine is
announcement of a new October list, like a new bunch of authors that are all coming out, new horror books that are all on the publishing slate for the new year, for 2020 and 2021. And I can't help but imagine that what they must have done, now this is just my opinion, right? This is just what I think could have happened.
Speculation.
I think what could have happened is they did what they used to do. They told everyone they were talking to about how awful it was and how mistreated they were and how everyone has betrayed them. And if only you will stick with me, we will make it right, just you and I together. Because they did this with me. They talked negatively about people they did not know that I was personally friends with, and said, like, this is what they've done to us, and don't listen to them say that we haven't paid them their royalties. That's not true, right? When now I know, in fact, it was true, and I've heard both sides of the story. And so I can say with 100% certainty and provability that happened. They probably have done that to a group of other desperate authors or hopefuls. Not desperate. Desperate's the wrong word. You feel at the end of your novel writing, you're desperate to have it published, but you become hopeful once you've moved on to your new
Yeah, because I'm wondering, like, if you're an author and you're getting in bed with a publisher, terrible choice of words, but you Google
Allegedly.
them. Allegedly. You probably, like, don't you do like a cursory glance, like, around the internet to see if there's like a bunch of horrible stories about said company? Like, I'm surprised they were able to find 10 new authors to work with.
You can believe that you're the exception.
Yeah.
Right?
Are they all new authors? Or is there some left over from the last
I don't
batch?
see any from the last one, but what actually got a lot of people upset is they were using endorsements from like 2016 of other authors who did publish with them saying they were great, who have since recanted. Those pull quotes were still on the website, right? And so those people were like, this is a lie. I don't believe this. They're terrible. And they went on their social media saying, like, avoid this publisher at all costs.
I'm so shocked that they would still stay under the same name. Like, why would they not?
You had a theory.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
It's what I suspect. If you look at the indices on their website, it seems to be supported by Canada Council for the Arts.
Oh, okay.
So it means they've applied as that company for more arts funding, used it to rebrand, and probably if they start a new company, you start at the bottom of the grant
To reapply for it and everything, right?
Right.
Okay.
So they're trying to, the old term is to grandfather in under that old company. It's really hard to tell on the new website who's in charge. Also, they make a point of there being no person named as the new publisher or head of the company, which is also suspicious. Because if you were rebranding and you were the savior of this company and this backlist and this legacy, there is a great legacy for ChiZine. If you were that savior, you'd be there saying, I'm sorry this happened to all those old authors. Here we are to make it right. I'm the new face of this company.
Right.
I'm going to do it differently. But that's not there.
It reminds me of like sometimes when you drive by and you see a restaurant and there's a sign outside that says under new management.
Yeah.
They don't even have that.
It's like I always wondered why restaurants do that. And like, was the old management? I don't really, care about the management of a restaurant,
right?
Unless it was so bad that everyone talks about how awful it is.
Yeah. Shout out to the Winnipeg strike here at Stella's.
Right.
By the way,
yes.
Speaking of management, that could really be held to account.
Very true.
New management does matter, right?
But you usually have to tell people what the new management is.
We adapt, and we survive. The function of life is survival.
I mean, a real company, and I'm making a distinction here between like ChiZine Publications because they didn't run themselves like a real company, right? A real company like Marvel, say, when they have a bad year, they fire their current CEO and they get a new one, and that person goes on and says, hey, here's all my experience in big business land, and this is how we're going to turn the company around.
Shake things up.
Rebuild confidence in the brand.
Yeah.
And it even goes into sports. They fire a coach.
Yeah.
Right? Hire a new coach. That'll reset
right.
the
So,
thing.
I mean, I have confidence in the community of science fiction and fantasy and speculative fiction authors in Canada. They're all hungry for a publisher, and they would probably fall in line even under a besmirched brand if they knew there was a new person running the books, right? If it's a question of if we take over the brand, we can fulfill our obligations to the arts community that in the past we didn't, then yeah, go for it. In fact, be that phoenix rising from the ashes. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like a way to get paid and print books but not market them.
Do you think they have a long-term scheme, or is this just them limping along trying to...
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still human beings, right? And I made a point of not naming them here now because they've been dragged through the mud, and I think losing your company and losing your entire list of authors, that's enough punishment. Maybe they've learned from their mistake and maybe they want to do it better and differently. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but be honest about it then. And if it's you, if it really is these two people trying to do right by it and rising it up again, then they should take ownership of it, take their lumps, take the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, right? And say, we're going to try and be better.
Does everyone deserve a second chance?
Yes.
Okay. Third chance?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the severity.
Yeah.
Like, if you've just, killed my mother, then, right? And then maybe I'm going to think differently about letting you have another shot at coming into my house with that axe. But I think when it comes to poor business practices that are not at their heart malicious, but more like desperate moves because you don't maybe have the experience to do what you've promised to do, yeah, you deserve a second chance. Sure. Okay. Don't you?
I guess so, yeah. I'm thinking of an analogous event where here in Winnipeg, our local radio landscape, we had a person come back to the air, a radio host who was not, who had said some pretty offensive things on the air, and he was fired from his job, and now he's back. So
has he continued to say that?
Well, it wasn't just what he said on air, but then he was texting somebody, and that person leaked the text to social media, which really made things not so great.
Yeah, right. So he was, and it's we can name him Wheeler, I guess, because his name's it's all over billboards all over the city. It's not like it's a secret that he's back. And the billboards say he's back, Wheeler in the morning. And so it was 2 years ago that he was fired from his job for those remarks. And but it wasn't his first offense. It was like his third, I think, at that point.
But who hires him back? I mean,
A different company,
Right.
a different radio station. They said in all their statements, and there was a huge outcry from people saying you should not give this man another chance. He's proven that he is he's not a good person. And he said all those statements said none of them from him directly, all from the station saying he wants to put it behind him. He's changed.
Right.
But all evidence to the contrary, and that some of the segments he's been running on the show are kind of in line with the old persona. Not as bad as what he said about transgender people. That was his main thing that was off the rails.
Awful.
But it still looks like to be the same kind of thing. Same behavior, right? So if I guess what I'm trying to get at is if ChiZine continues to exhibit this behavior, you have to wait and see what happens is what I'm saying.
I guess that's true, right? Like, did that guy deserve... I don't listen to
I don't either.
radio like that. So, but if that guy was a total a-hole and recanted and actually wants to change...
He didn't actually do that. He didn't actually
No, but I'm just saying, in a world, in a scenario where a person does wrong, admits to their wrongdoing, wants to do better, and then through their actions demonstrates change, I think they do deserve another chance.
What seems to be the norm these days is you just hide away for a couple of months.
I know, and it's awful.
You think people are going to forget about it?
Yeah,
You
like
really
let
think
the
it's gonna
internet.
let it blow over, right?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of
You know, as a middle school bully who went around in grade 10 and 11 to all the people I bullied and apologized in person, right?
Oh my God, just a revelation.
I can say, and as someone who has tried to live their life not to do that, and in fact to defend people who are bullied whenever I can, right? There is you can be the bigger person. You can change for the better. You can do it. And so we should give people that chance.
Okay.
If their behavior, however, demonstrates that they have not changed, then you know.
You gotta learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And it takes time to build up the trust, so it's not like you're going to go signing with ChiZine anytime soon.
Certainly not.
Right?
Certainly not. I actually had the evil part of me said I should resubmit the same 4 books that originally were published with them as if they're new titles and see what happens, just to see what would happen. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that, and they'd be hip to it now because we just talked about it. But yeah, it's weird. Do people deserve another chance? I mean, ultimately, you have to say yes. Right? Otherwise, what kind of world do we live in?
Case by case basis.
And again, sometimes it takes time for that chance to really play out all the way.
Yeah.
You do have to give it time. You have to see, the trust has been broken.
Yeah.
So you need to build that back up.
Well, like my uncle, who has passed now, but he would be just fine with me telling this story. He was a recovered alcoholic, right? He had, a cycle of abuse and misconduct and just, the kind of thing where if you saw him in the middle of the bottle, he was the worst kind of human being you could imagine. But he spent the last half of his life atoning for that, being a sponsor, staying up round the clock with people to help them get through their addictions. Like, if you judge him only in this 10-year period of his life, he's awful. He's the most awful person you could imagine. Anything bad you think a person could do, he might have done, and then forgot about it because he was so wasted, right? But he did work to atone. It cost him the relationship with his family. It cost him the relationship with his kids. He didn't get that back. That's not something that you can forgive. Right? But he didn't give up on being a human being, and he tried to be good to other people for the last run. So, I have those examples in my life of people that did it really bad and then tried to do better. And so I can't help but see the good in people when it comes to that. Right? Round to that too. Okay, I can tie a little thread here between Kickstarter, between a publisher that didn't do what they said and a person that deserves a second chance. Rob Liefeld had one of the Kickstarters that was famous for being like hugely successful and never fulfilling. And he's a guy with a huge following in comic book land. And his Brigade Kickstarter was overfunded, and then for years and years and years never backed it. I finally saw him on his Instagram signing copies of that Brigade for fulfillment. So whatever that story is, I cannot wait to hear, because he's not a man without means. Like, it wasn't a question of money.
Yeah.
There was some behind the scenes legal reason that some other people have hinted at for me that he couldn't fulfill it because it turned out maybe he didn't have the right to sell that book, even though they were his characters, and couldn't talk about it openly. Like, he just avoided questions related to it. He didn't even address it. He would promote other books for years and, outsold so many other comic creators on so many other projects since then, and then just never mentioned this Kickstarter whenever people asked him about what he was working on. And I found it so strange. And then suddenly, poof, there it is. And it's interesting because people online are angry that there's no explanation.
Yeah.
And his fans are just thrilled that the book's finally coming.
Yeah.
And so...
But I think you need that story. You have to talk about it. You can't just pretend it never happened and
then just hope for the best.
Yeah,
right?
You need to kind of come up front and say something.
I'm trying to change the world to fit people.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second.
Where's Homer? Where's Cousin Zacchus? Where's Jack London?
Where's Elizabeth?
We're from kind of Comic-Con artist alley land where fan art is like a big part of a lot of people's setups and sales and stuff like that. And so a fairly well-known artist went on to Kickstarter and ran a campaign that kind of revolved around fan art. And he not only got funded, he got like super overfunded. But it was all fan art related things. Prints. I think he was doing an art book full of, all my favorite shows growing up, So it was like Ninja Turtles and Inspector Gadget and a bunch of Marvel stuff and a bunch of DC stuff. He got contacted by some lawyers from one of the bigger companies, and they were suing him for exactly his Kickstarter amount.
Right.
It wasn't, they wanted they could see with full transparency, here's what you made.
Yeah.
So that's what we want.
Yeah.
And so he basically...
And what protects most people in fan art land is that they're not a big enough enterprise that it's worth those companies suing them because they look at that. They can do an asset check. They can see, you live in an apartment and you go to conventions for a living. Suing you costs us more money than it does to reclaim it. But when they see your Kickstarter made $200,000, they're like, well, you have that. We'll take that, please.
It puts a price tag on it.
Yeah, it puts a
and
target on your
it's not worth, like, there's so many people who just sell print here, print there at various conventions. It's just not worth it to try and go after everybody.
No, you can't.
Most people, that is like, it's the gateway into like not legitimate, but more original art, right? That's kind of where you went with it, right? When you started doing your stuff, and it's an important part of the path, I think, for an artist too.
My theory, or I always use the example of like every great band starts as a cover band, right? The Beatles,
pretty much.
Beatles played other hits before they started playing their own stuff, and that's what I see artists doing fan art is they're playing the classics before people are gonna give a chance to the original.
Yeah, and people look at it largely the same way. Like when that band of 50-somethings comes to the wedding and they play covers, right? And they're just doing it for fun, and they play weddings, and like they all have other jobs. Nobody comes to them and says, "How dare you?" Right? But if you make your entire living off of somebody else's catalog, someone's going to show up one day and say, "Hey, listen, you only have that because of me," and they're going to ask for some, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that circles back around to my idea of the class action lawsuit. Is that if a couple of people were living real well based off the work of 100 authors who were dutifully fulfilling their side of the contract, right? There's a case to be made there, right? Yeah. So good news, bad news.
Some more good news. iCollector.
Oh yeah.
Been sent off, or what's good on there?
Changing gears from
I get to change
colorful Dragon Nanny posts.
So if you have found this podcast or my social media as a result of the beautiful, friendly-looking artwork of Justin Curry that I've been posting nonstop for the Kickstarter, you may be in for a shock because October is coming, and it's here, actually. Today's October 1st. I have a book that I co-created with Dr. Jonathan Ball, and it is called The Eye Collector, and it is a straight-up horror, psychological thriller, nightmare factory which we're going to start promoting for the month of October. So if suddenly these weird, creepy eyeball images show up in your social media feed, you're like, where did this come from? Have I been hacked? What is going on? This makes me feel uncomfortable. That's my new horror book, so sorry.
Some people really don't like it, and I'm doing it again. I'll do my movie challenge where I try and watch 31 movies in 31 days, and I just put a little still image from each film just to illustrate what I'm watching. But some of them are pretty scary, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I have to mute you on Instagram in October just because
of that image.
all these scary images you're sharing." I'm like, "Well, it's just from the movie.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
a horror movie."
Yeah, and I mean, it's a thing, right? Because I'm not just a one-note writer. I do a lot of different stuff, and so here's a thing where I'm also doing the art. And when it comes to doing art, I'd prefer moody, creepy, edgy. That's the kind of art I like to make. It's like my cathartic release. So that's what's going to start showing up in all my feeds now as a promotion for this. It comes out from Heavy Metal's Virus imprint. Actually, this October, the first issue will. And for How the Sausage Gets Made, we've made the first 3 issues, which we're soliciting the first one in October. And then by the time the third one is out, we'll have the last issue 4 and 5 in the can by then also. And then those are all out digitally through Heavy Metal's website and wherever digital books can be bought and sold. And then into the new calendar year, the plan is, if shows are back, is to launch and announce the physical collected edition, probably for New York Comic Con or one of those big shows. So that's kind of like the COVID plan, the COVID strategy. We would have physical copies and be at shows for all 5 of those issues, but since that's not happening, we're going all digital for the first 5 and then a collected edition at the end. So this is a different model than the Kickstarter model, where we're using a publisher's reach to, try to make that margin. Our what we get from that, by way of example, 15% of every comic sold is what we will receive through that project.
Okay.
And the ability to buy print run sets at cost. So when we can do physical shows, I can buy a set of books at cost, sell them myself at the table. They're available through the publisher at the publisher's table, right? We get a percentage of everything they're selling, and then we also get the full markup of anything that we've printed and then are selling ourselves.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a hybrid. For us, it feels like a good deal. Not for everyone would that be a good deal, but because we already have this infrastructure in place to do direct sales, for us, it's a fun experiment. And for Dr. Ball, it's his first comics project, which he has out through Heavy Metal Magazine. So that's like
You guys have been well, how many projects have you worked together on?
We've been working on Eye Collector a little bit at a time, a drip at a time, an eyedropper at a time for years.
An eyedropper.
For years. Always one of those things of like, if we could ever get a publisher to pay these bills for us, we would put it at the front.
Yeah.
Right? But we can't. And then what happened was we applied to the Arts Council and got a grant to develop this really weird, dreamlike, esoteric, like non-commercial project. And for people listening, that's what the arts funding in Canada does. Things that might not be commercially viable but should be made on their artistic merit get funded.
Yeah.
Right? It just so happens that we also attached a publisher early, which made them happy, makes everybody happy. And so, we get paid to make it, which is always great. And then, we get to promote it also.
Is that the noise?
No, You'll know the noise. Sorry, somebody is trying to adjust their order. That's the one.
I got a few of these too, yeah.
Yeah, sorry to switch gears, but
No, that's okay.
Trying to make money.
Somebody with Kickstarter, I always thought you could select multiple tiers. And I guess I never figured this out because anytime I backed Kickstarter, I always backed one thing. But I'm getting a lot of people who want a bit of this tier and a bit of the other one. And I always assumed you could select multiple tiers. So because you can't, I didn't set up quite enough variety in my tiers. So a lot of people are like, I have this one, but I want a bit of that one. What can I do? And so I've just been individually going through and if you add a bit more money, then I can throw that in and I add a note to your order. And I just have this big master list of all these little, additions that people are getting.
Yeah, and I got two like that just now too that said I upped it, right? You know me.
Yeah.
So can I just up it and then I'll pick it up at the studio?
And it's really easy to keep track of. Everybody has a backer number, right? So 135 gets an extra this and an extra that because he paid extra. So yeah, it's been a lot of that. So it's been a learning experience, but yeah. So sorry for
that's okay.
No, that's just it, right? Like the podcast is supposed to be like from a working studio.
Yeah.
Right?
The notifications.
Yeah. From a working studio, how do you make a living making stories?
I just want to name my dragon. That's all I care about. I just got this.
So
What a
many
surprise.
people wanted that one.
Couldn't believe
I got in fast, got in early. And again, I'm giving this honor to my children, so we'll see what they come up with.
Yeah.
David's right. Your minds and memories will be totally absorbed. Everything remains intact.
Another company that I work for that asked me sort of not to make it super public, but I can mention the corollary is that they are pencils down for now. They caught up on everybody's invoices. They said, hey, your books we're just pushing pause on the whole company. Like COVID has reached a place where we just let everyone work ahead. And now everyone worked ahead past our budget, and so we're pausing things now, and we'll just have to wait. So, that's a weird scenario. That's
so. What are they like? They still have books out in the field. Like
so
in
they
stores and
were
stuff.
beginning. So they had purchased. This was a 5-issue series. Also, I was working on, and I have created and been paid for the first 4, and I'm working on issue 5. And they basically said, stop working because if you finish and then expect to have your invoice paid, we can't guarantee right now that we can pay you in a timely fashion. So don't do work that we can't pay you for, which is like, that's shitty because you plan your year around certain projects and incomes, but it's also great that they paid their invoice and then said that.
Yeah. better to know that it's coming instead of doing the work and then saying, hey, well, we're like, we can't pay you.
And that's the ebb and flow of the freelance life. It's feast or famine, and so you have to plan accordingly.
Yeah. I am starting to get a bit of that sense through my freelance podcast work.
You're right.
Stuff. Yeah, like that comes and goes. I'm getting a lot of people interested in. People want me to teach them how to podcast. That's the thing that's coming along. So I thought that was interesting. I did a panel as part of the Manitoba Podcast Festival on the weekend, which went really well. Very smooth. Very those guys like. I have to get some tips from them as far as how they stream it to Facebook and do all that stuff because I need to figure that tech out because we're doing a FanQuest event on the 30th, like a live kind of streaming event, and I need to work out all the
And people want you to be their coach. Like when someone shout out by the way to Samantha Biko.
Oh yeah.
Samantha Biko, congratulations on the birth of your new child.
Baby
Amazing.
boy.
Baby boy.
No, she's never going to have time for us ever again.
Never again.
Not till he's grown up and...
Yeah. Well, we love you so much, and so there's a shout out. But this is what's on my mind, is that you could be a podcast doula. Do you know what
Should I put that in my title?
Right, podcast doula.
Podcast doula.
For those of you who don't know what a doula is, they kind of they're like they help you along the way. They help the birth process.
So and what prompted this was the place I work right over college had offered. It was interesting because I was like emailing back and forth with people at continuing education to propose like a podcast course for people who wanted to take it, like a part-time evenings and weekends kind of thing. And we'd been going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, and of course, COVID hits and that all gets shut down, right? Because we're focusing on other stuff. And then all of a sudden, the college announces this series of micro-credentials. So if you go to the website and you Google like micro-credentials at Red River College, you'll see you can get a little credential in marketing, social media marketing, or design, or like basics, micro-credentials, yes. So you get a little thing saying, I took this course from Red River College. It is a credential you can put on your... I don't know, email signature. What do people do with that stuff? And then
can I just interrupt and say that is the death knell of post-secondary education?
Well,
they're believing they need to rebrand micro credentials because no one sees the value in their actual credentials anymore.
No, I think the part of the issue is that people don't have time to take a full program through Con Ed. Like Con Ed is basically one course at a time kind of thing. So you can, there are like a full, diploma program or certificate program you can take through Con Ed, which is evenings and weekends, basically. But it takes forever, and nobody ever does that. They'll take one thing to learn a certain skill, and that, for example, it would be podcasting. So they offered this one podcasting one. I had no idea. Nobody asked me about it or talked to me about it. And then a friend of mine asked me about it because it wasn't being offered right now. So through that conversation, I just used that as an excuse to contact the person I know at Con Ed. And I wasn't saying, hey, you stole my idea, because I didn't care.
Right.
But I was just saying, this person I know wants to take this course. How can they do it?
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's a partnership with another organization. It's not even really the college that's teaching this.
Whoa. So it's a third party provider doing micro. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't, it's not a great situation, in my opinion. And so anyway, but the conversation that's now happening is maybe I can teach this course for people who want to take it from River College.
Yeah.
So.
They're like it sounds like this micro accreditation here is like a barnacle on a larger sea creature, right? They're like feeding off of them.
Yeah, they're just trying to find a way to teach people a little bit extra, like some things you might not have learned.
Right, but it ain't free.
No, it's not.
So they're using your brand of a big college to get people to think.
Yeah, I don't want to name this other organization, but their acronym is a misspelled name. It's misspelled. Their acronym misspells the word that it's supposed to be, and I don't like that. I think your acronym should be like the actual word.
Or a number.
Or
instead of a letter. No, don't do that. That's what makes me so angry. Yeah. I won't eat at a restaurant that the letter is a number.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
My favorite places to eat.
Oh my God. What's the name of that one? We should
11.
11.
Yeah, with the L's.
The L's are 11.
Oh, no,
God,
I've never heard of that.
11.
Okay. Long and short of it is, people are starting to be more interested in me teaching them how to podcast. And so I'm starting to pick up on like a little bit of extra work here and there in addition to my full-time job. So my side hustle is starting to grow a little bit.
And your dadding and all that stuff.
Yeah, that stuff as well. But most evenings now, I'm working on podcast-related materials.
Right.
Including like my own. Also.
Do you like it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, and your eyes just lit up when I
feel like I'm sure this is the same feeling you have when you're working on something where it's like I don't even realize the time has gone by.
Yeah. Different people call it flow.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. You just when you're in the flow, you just time changes and your energy level changes and just it's a lot of work if you were counting it. But you're not counting it.
Well, I'm counting it because I'm billing those hours.
Well, sure.
But I still do like I just get started, and then 2 hours later, it's like, oh wow, it's 1 a.m. I guess I should go to bed.
Yeah.
Right. So that's happening more and more often for me, which is cool. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. What a great feeling.
Yeah.
When I first started making comics, I also was full-time job in it, and so I would start at. Basically when the family went to bed around 10 p.m. and then suddenly it would be 4 a.m. and I'd be like, oh, I got to be up for school in 3 hours.
That's tough. I don't know that I could do that necessarily.
Right? But it didn't grind me the way I thought it would. I would do that, 10 days a month, and it didn't really seem to.
Wow.
Didn't get me. I mean, I couldn't do it now, I don't think. I've got so much more gray in my beard now. I think it would be bad on my internal.
You don't have the energy you used to as a young man.
As a young man, yeah. Now. But now I work mornings we have a schedule at home, so I am, because we're keeping the kids at home, and Tara's also at home, and so we're just balancing all that. And so it means if I get up early and I get out of bed early, I get more time to work, which then, of course, means at night when I'm working, because I still stay up late and work, now I balance it. I'm like, it's another 2 hours to finish this page. Do I think the best 2 hours are between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m. or between the hours of 9 a.m., right, and 11 a.m.? Oh, I think I'll go to bed now because tomorrow I get to work on this again, right, in the morning. And so that's just been an interesting change lately that COVID has brought on for me, is that I dip on both ends if I stay up late, so I might as well go to bed early.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about that in our classes, about trying to find the peak performance times, like the times of day that you work best.
Yeah.
And some people are morning people, some people are late night people. Not a lot of people are mid-afternoon people, I find. This time of day, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon is kind of a quiet time for.
Well, interesting you say that, because my kids both identify as their peak thinking, learning, like grindstone time. Like they can handle a boring problem and stay interested is around this time.
Is it really?
Is Thursday. The days that we record our podcast is the one day that we flip our schedule at home.
Yeah.
And so I do mornings instead of afternoons. And so we give them what other educators would call the rote learning part. To like, okay, we just gotta grind this math out. Okay, this is that. You're carrying that one, you're doing that thing, you're balancing this equation, you're doing all that kind of stuff. They love that. And we've identified the hours of the day that they actually don't mind doing it, where their energy level is peak. And for them, very different from me, it's right after lunch.
Okay. Yeah, that's usually when I'm starting to feel a little sluggish.
Yeah, it's when I feel sluggish, but when they're ready for that. So we've sort of figured out our day's schedule to do their peak. They do their phys ed kind of exercise, outdoor activities all in the morning. When they're raring to go, they get up, they go on an adventure. And then in the afternoon, they have lunch and then do their book learning, right? Both kids memorized Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night yesterday. And I never saw two prouder kids because not only did they memorize it, but they knew what it meant. Like when it started, I was like, here's a poem. We're gonna watch Interstellar, number one, which we did. And then we're going to look at the themes of this story. And now we're going to look at this poem, which they're like, hey, this is from that movie. And I'm like, yeah. What the hell does this actually mean, Dad? Right? And digging into the actual ideas behind it and the themes are like, oh, that's why it was included. Oh, that's related to this. Oh, that, oh, that, oh, that, oh, that. This like constructivist model of like present it in the real world and then deconstruct it rather than present it as an abstract idea worth learning and then try to go find something. Right?
That's cool.
We've been flipping that. So it's weird times. Right?
It is.
Kickstarters and homeschooling.
My wife reads your books. It's changed her life. Good, I'm glad. Look.
And scary movies for me for a month. So what
you should get Shudder.
I should get Shudder. Actually, I should.
Yeah. I'll just give you my password. Everyone else has it.
I mean, it's not even that much. It's only like $6 a month or something, right? It's not even the $10 a month. So, and I should, because I probably will make good use of it this month. Amazon Prime does have a pretty good selection of older horror movies, low budget, which are fun, but I want a variety of things. And there's certain films that I have not yet seen. I haven't seen Midsommar yet. So I'm going to watch that. And there's some on my list. The first time I did this, it was so I could catch up on everything that I should have seen already.
Right.
And I did that. And then last year, I didn't really complete the challenge all the way through because I got really busy planning the actual Halloween ball that we had last year. But this year, it's going to be a virtual Halloween ball, so there won't be as much work being put into that necessarily. It's going to be more live streaming stuff. So I do still want to watch a scary movie or even TV show. I could even watch like American Horror Story or something like that. I've never really watched that show either.
Haunting on
Hill House?
Yeah.
I could do that as well.
I've listened to so many podcasts by the people who worked on it, directed it, starred in it. I haven't watched it, and now I
Wait, you haven't watched it?
No, I haven't watched it.
Oh my God.
Okay, because I have to tell you something. One of the only scary movies that actually scare me still, like I'll still be like, oh, and it'll linger, are ghost stories. And so
it's a good one.
Yeah. So I'm actually nervous to watch it. So in October, I actually put on my calendar at home that I would watch it this October. So because we've also started up, I started last month on the 13th, but I wanted it to be going already before October. Our 13 horrors. So for the dear listener that has never heard me mention this before, it's a exercise that I do on the hour before midnight, on the 13th of every month. I get a group of authors and creatives together. We do it through Zoom now, and we brainstorm a complete horror plot for a movie or a short story or a novel or whatever within the hour before midnight. We try to finish on the midnight bell, on the witching hour bell. And so I'm looking forward to the 13th this month of October to do ghost stories. We're going to do a ghost one.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we do with the story breaking episodes here. Same kind of idea, only there's usually between 4 and 5 voices all sort of pitching in.
You should record it for the podcast.
I've thought about that, but there is a
privacy.
It's not the privacy part. And I'd be happy to share, but people share differently when they know they're being recorded.
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the fervor of creative expulsion, right? You don't always want to be recorded. Like the last one we did, we recorded it because everyone there either had been on podcasts or had a podcast of their own. So we all recorded it through Zoom anyway for some future use. But it would need a lot of heavy editing because like sometimes people say purposely the wrong thing, the unpolitically correct thing, because when you're making horror, you're trying to disgust and horrify the audience. And so it can come across as being, if you took it out of context, as being what you think, as opposed to what you think would horrify an audience, right? And so I feel like there would be a danger in that raw expulsion collected for people's consumption.
Especially with horror.
With horror,
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty easy to cross that line.
Yeah, if you were brainstorming kids' books, you can do that all day long on a podcast because no one's going to suggest the kind of things that we would suggest in a horror show, right?
I saw a good one last night, the night before. It's starting to get blurry. It's the end of the book time for me. So I'm starting, like, thank God I have an understanding girlfriend that knows I'm a workaholic and just this is what happens. But I'm starting to go to bed at like 3, 4 in the morning and start my day a bit later and just all that. I've been watching a good mix of like, shows and horror movies and saw one called Revenge, which is, I think like it's part French, part English. Never heard of it before. And halfway through the movie, I'm like...
So perfectly Canadian, really.
Yeah.
Part French, part English.
But it was like really gratuitous of this like showing this like very pretty girl, like lots of... She had to remove her clothing and she was, you know, all that. And I'm like, they shouldn't be doing quite that much. It's getting a little much. But then I realized they were showing the main bad guy, his naked body almost just as much, if not more.
Right.
So they were being very fair with it.
They're trying to balance it.
Yeah, it wasn't like typical horror movie where it's just like pretty girl. They also had a pretty guy who was
We
naked
did that on the
lot.
set of our little horror short that we shot last, the Love Song. It's doing festivals now. We've got into like 7 different festivals all over the world. It's amazing, actually. Should have talked about that next episode. On set, because our principal actress was going to be in a state of undress, we told the principal actor, like, listen, like, this is what we're expecting from her. We're going to have to expect the same thing from you. And then what we actually did was pull back on both of them instead, right? So you do have to kind of find that middle ground. Mm-hmm. But what makes it on screen and what made it in the actual filming was a little different. I mean, there's a scene where the guy walks out into the water and he's totally naked, right? So you do a bunch of takes of that. On a short film, you spend an inordinate amount of time with a naked fella. And we had we had a scene where the actress is also on the beach, basically covered in this horrible slime. You do a bunch of takes of that, and you end up spending a lot of time with a naked person there too. So we just wanted to not make the one person feel like they were the object or objectification of the story. And it's been done so many times before to women in particular. Yeah. You didn't want to be like that either, right? You don't want to be people thinking that that's what you were after. Yeah. In fact, the nudity that exists in our film is a result of the actual nudity that you can see is a result of actually CGI. There's a scene where it seems like the actress is completely naked, but we actually removed her bathing suit digitally because we didn't want her to have to... Yeah. That's it? Is that the noise? Hey! All right. That's
469. That surprised me.
While we are talking about horror movies, our little kids book that could just earned another backer. So there you go. I should change it to the hip hop one. Yeah. There's a hip hop notification, and it's the best thing ever. Should you play it? I think I should play it. It's also quite long.
Let's do this. We're the Kings of Kickstarter, y'all. The Kings of Kickstarter, y'all.
We aren't, though.
No, not.
You are. No, you are. You are today.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the living studio, and we may have to shut it all down right away anyway. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we have talked about how genre gets made in the working studio here in Winnipeg. This is Gregory Kamichuk, encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.